Red is beautiful. In Old Russian, the word for red and beautiful was the same, krasny. Red is the zest for life, fondness of nature, the deep love of God. Red is in the exuberance in their song and dance, and it is in the red fire within, kept burning through times of trouble, that makes Russia beautiful.
This is St. Petersburg, the city built by Peter the Great, because it has a link to the Russian waterway system of 61 rivers. Here, the biggest river, Neva, silently flows into Lake Ladoga, which connects into Moscow. These rivers were once the fishing grounds of the Tsars. Vilma and I are here to relive times past in our red adventure along the Waterways of the Tsars.
Our friend Vladimir, whom we hosted in California as an exchange professional trainee, takes us to his apartment in the suburb town of Pushkin. He offers strawberries from his family's dacha and a drink of kvass. We like homestays. Vladimir's bedroom is small but elegant, with nice drapes, lamp, floor and wall rugs, and a wall of books. He is an economist and also a lawyer. He lives in this 5-story apartment complex on the ground floor, which is much cooler than the top.
What a wonderful coincidence! Pushkin is celebrating the 200th anniversary of the celebrated poet, of which this town is named after, Alexander Pushkin. We go to the town square to take a peek at the festivities. Now that we get to hug a bear, the very symbol of Russia, I'm convinced that Vilma and I are finally in Russia. The dark character on the stage is Pushkin, and there are these contestants for Pushkin lookalikes. The flamboyant one on the left looks like the poet of The Golden Cockerel. The bluffer in the middle looks like the short story writer of Queen of Spades, and the serious one looks like the playwright of Boris Godunov.
Thanks to Vladimir, we get to see non-touristy places in St. Petersburg, following the footsteps of Pushkin and Dostoevsky. A statue of Alexander Pushkin stands in front of the Russian Museum. This is a bust of Peter the Great, who made St. Petersburg into his dream city out of a swamp. Peter's victory at the Battle of Poltava gave Russia a window of the West. The big canvas, The Last Day of Pompeii, Vladimir explains, is done by one of the most famous painters of all Russia, Briolov KP. I finally find Ilya Repin's painting of Tolstoy barefoot in the woods, wearing the white shirt of a peasant, as a statement against serfdom.
Coming out of the back of the lavish Russian museum, we face a vibrantly colored church called Church of the Resurrection, built on the spot where Tsar Alexander II died in a second bomb attack while confronting a boy hit by the first bomb. Along the side, you see one of the 500 bridges in St. Petersburg over one of the 61 rivers, the Moika River. The very sight of the colorful domes draws awe and inspiration as evident in these series of paintings.
At the very steps of Kazan Cathedral, the Russian guards proclaim Catherine the Great as Empress after deposing her ineffective husband, the Tsar. I have to see Pushkin's favorite haunt, the Literaturny Cafe. It's rather expensive for Russians, but not for tourists. With Vladimir's guidance, we eat cold soup and ground steak with mushrooms, the house special. Today, they still do the musical concert as in Pushkin's time.
We walk on to the Pushkin Drama Theater, in front of which is a statue of Catherine the Great with her favorites. This particular one is Potemkin, her lover and co-regent for years. In this park, Vladimir tells us that the KGB used to forbid people to congregate here. Now they can come and relax as this lady with the dog. Or play chess, usually with a group of spectators.
In the evening, we go home and collapse in Vladimir's sofa bed. His dining room has beautiful cabinets and fine china. We visit the haunts of Dostoevsky. Eric, like Dostoevsky, ponders on the trials and tribulations of the human spirit. In Vladimir Square is the Haymarket, the setting of Dostoevsky's novels like Crime and Punishment.
The Across the street, the Dostoevsky Museum on Dostoevsky Street was his apartment with his second wife and their 2 children. Here he wrote his celebrated Brothers Karamazov.
By bus, we go to one end of town to the Alexander Nevsky Monastery. There's an aura of peace and solitude among the shaded tombstones of celebrated Russians. This is the summer garden that Peter designed. Tschaikovsky opened his opera based on Pushkin's story, Queen of Spades, with a pleasant scene of nurses and infants. The park then was open only to the nobility or the respectably dressed, but Pushkin came to read here in the mornings in his dressing gown.
We turn to Pushkin to see the gardens of Catherine's summer palace. Here is a stone bridge with carvings of faces. Catherine likes her plants to grow the natural way, as in an informal English garden. She leaves the trees unpruned around the great pond. In this morning salon, Catherine comes early after attending to the affairs of the state. The flautists and guitarists air some royal favorites, like the Hungarian Rhapsody and Gounod's Ave Maria. A statue of Pushkin stands in this town named after him. Though not as popular abroad as Dostoevsky and Tolstoy, he was the most loved poet in Russia.
It's our 3rd morning, and we're chauffeured to our village stay, 4 hours southwest of the city. Halfway through the drive, the signs are written only in the Cyrillic alphabet. We're in uncharted territories, and what's worse is that our hosts don't speak English. Our booking agent lied. We arrive at the rural village to see a stork with its babies high up on the nest. What a welcoming sight! Our first meal is tasty pork soup, generously topped with green onions and dill, the favorite garnishes at the Russian table. Gleb, our host, loves to talk, in Russian, of course, but with Eric's little knowledge of Russian, we manage to get by. They may not have running water, but they have a private sauna. It's a Russian way of life.
It's interesting to take a walk around this small town. Our room is quite ornate. At 9 p.m., Veronica knocks on our door and reads from a piece of paper what sounds like, "Eat! It's time to eat!"
For breakfast, she serves a tort, usually cooked for special occasions. It's delicious. Gleb takes us to the next big town of Gudov to see the 500-year-old fortress. Within its thick walls is a church. The reverence that Gleb shows moves me to think of the words of the elder Sosimo, a character of Dostoevsky. Outside the wall is a friendly Russian cat that looks like ours, and we are moved to send Dreamer 1 a postcard to tell him how much we miss him. Veronica shows us our next meal just caught from the lake, with some freshly picked lettuce.
This is our 5th day. We go back to the city of Peter's creation and embark on an 11-day river cruise aboard the Peterhof. On our own, we see Peterhof, Peter's great summer palace. From the entrance, we see the promise of beauty and splendor as we are transported back to the times of the Tsars. He helped design the gardens and fountains, drawing inspiration from the Palace of Versailles. Russia's first hydraulic engineer allowed water to flow into the 144 fountains without the use of a single pump. Prosperity can now catch a glimpse of the splendor of the court as in the days of war and peace. Here's Natasha, the heroine, looking resplendent but apprehensive at her first ball.
With music, flowers, dances, the emperor, and all the brilliant young people of Petersburg. This is the golden stairway that could lead to golden moments in a young lady's heart.
This is the ballroom that Peter built, inspired by the Hall of Mirrors in Versailles. But this is not Versailles, this is Petersburg. And this is the social circle of the Rostovs awaiting the entrance of Tsar Alexander I. The opulence flows into the white dining room in this elegant setting for 30 people. The double plates are for heating.
Natasha had found her love at the ball. She happily dances mazurka with Andrei. She was at the highest point of happiness when one becomes completely kind and good and does not believe in the possibility of evil and happiness and sorrow. Tolstoy, of Natasha at the Ball. We eat our first dinner in our cruise boat, attended by the staff in the red Russian costume. Red is beautiful.
This is the Hermitage with the Alexander Column, a monument to victory over Napoleon, a part of history made famous by Tolstoy in War and Peace. Here the revolutionaries marched on October 1917, putting the end to the reign of Nicolas II, who was brutally murdered with his family.
The Hermitage is the greatest museum of all Russia, opened by Nicolas II in 1912. This is the Field Marshal Hall with the red carriage used in the coronation of Catherine. In the small throne room is a picture of Peter with Minerva. Among the famous paintings are Leonardo da Vinci's Madonna Lita, framed in gold. Along the Moika is the colorful Church of the Resurrection, which we again pay homage to, this time with our Russian hats. These Matryoshka dolls made of linden wood painted in bright red are a feast for the eyes. They come in a set of 8 pieces to as many as 48.
Tonight we see a folklore show at the Anichkov Palace. As is the custom here, some of the performers stand at the entrance to greet the people as they come in. This is a beautiful performance of Siberian Russian dances. They do a variety of dances, from the modest and elegant bride dance to the flamboyant comedic dance. The group, who come from Krasnoyarsk, the biggest city in Siberia, are world famous. In Petersburg, the White Nights, from June 11th to July 2nd, are the most romantic nights when there is no darkness. But where is the romance for Anna Karenina, who yearns for her suave Vronsky?
And for Dr. Zhivago, who wonders where his beloved Lara is. He takes his balalaika and sings his heart out.
Where are the tender moments of splendor? Where have they gone? Where have they gone?
Somewhere, my love. We return to Pushkin to see Catherine the Great's summer palace in the middle of a beautiful park. The kitchen is located a quarter of a mile away to prevent fires. Peter's daughter betrothed Catherine to her nephew, Peter III, who turned out to be a bad ruler and husband.
Catherine, in her isolation, read Montesquieu, Diderot, Voltaire, and took various lovers like Potemkin.
Prince Potemkin, how much do you love me?
Come to Kiev in grand style. I shall pave the way. I will assemble golden sleds with orchestra and a flotilla of 40 boats. I will show them your power.
My dear prince, your ingenuity deserves not only my heart, but also my purse.
My dear Catherine, I will grant your every wish, even if it is to choose your next lover.
Catherine dislikes the formality of this French garden. She let the trees grow naturally, like the English garden. Through the marble stairway, I'm walking into Catherine's life. At the great hall, I partake of the splendor that Catherine and her court enjoyed. During a ball, imagine 696 candles in large candelabras reflected in the mirrors with gilded frames and carvings along the entire length of the hall. The painted ceiling of victories in war and achievements in arts create an illusion of great height. In the room of gold doors, you can see all at once the 7 doors that the ladies-in-waiting walk through. One of these lead to the dining room. And what's the first course for dinner? Is it soup of nightingale tongue or lips of moose? The red pilaster room is done with red foil under glass. Red is beautiful. One of the features is a chess set made of red and white ivory. This is my favorite room, the amber room. The carved amber paneling consists of different sizes and color of amber. Then the cabinet knobs are made of the liquid gold. King Friedrich Wilhelm of Prussia presented this to Peter, and you can see his initials, FR. Peter, in return, gave 150 of his tallest soldiers. Catherine the Great was a German and rose to power by her intelligence and strong will. Of her bedside manners, she defiantly says, "Every morning I wake up at 6, start the fire, make coffee, and attend to the affairs of the state. So why do you care what I do at night?"
But it's broad daylight, and here's Catherine with her favorite lover, Grigory Orlov.
St. Isaac's Cathedral is one of the two largest in St. Petersburg. Here the aristocrats tried to overthrow the Tsar in December 1905. It was built for St. Isaac, whose saint day Peter was born, May 30th. Each column requiring 112 tons are of malachite, and each wooden door weighs 20 tons and needs a wheel to open it.
Facing the Neva is the most famous statue in the city, that of Peter the Great. A present from Catherine the Great, it is called the Bronze Horseman, after Pushkin's poem. With St. Isaac's Dome in the background, it is a favorite photo spot for brides and grooms.
Flaunt your beauty, Peter's city, and stand unshakable like Russia. Let the Finnish waves forget the enmity and ancient bondage, and let them not disturb with empty spite Peter's eternal sleep. The Bronze Horseman.
Tonight is the captain's welcome aboard party. It's a dress-up night, and Vilma looks fashionable in her infinite dress, which she can fashion into 101 styles. We toast to our captain, Na Zdоровья. The salad bar looks healthy and appetizing.
The chicken in red sauce looks delicious. Tonight, we sail along Lake Ladoga, Europe's largest lake, for a surprise visit in the morning. It was cold and dreary, but the sight of the little flower vendor in red pants warmed up our hearts. The main street is wide and lined with silvery birches. This very region has always provided Russia with timber. The food store is a place for thirsty travelers. It also sells bread in abundance, and there are no more bread lines. We get an invitation to a local home by this girl. This is her mom and brother. It has a nice wallpaper, small TV, and a samovar for tea, and as the usual case, a bed in this living room. Above the sofa is a rug hung on the wall, like we have seen in other homes.
At early morn, we reach the fabled island of Kizhi on Lake Onega, looking like a scene from Pushkin's fairy tale. The big church has 22 domes in 5 tiers and made of aspen, which is impenetrable by water. It has a zigzag belt at the end of which is a gutter that takes away water. It is the ultimate in church architecture. In the background is the biggest house in the village, and it belongs to the peasant Oshenyev. It was built of big logs, and it is not fastened to its rock foundation. Several generations live in this house. It has a big storage area for farm and weaving implements. Here's a bedroom, and as in every Russian house, there's a red corner for an icon with a red candle.
While men grow wheat, rice, and oat, the women weave linen, rugs, and make lace. Red is a favorite. The panyova was worn with puff-sleeve blouse, usually embroidered in red, and an overblouse of embroidered brocade. The log staircase was built for horses carrying hay or vegetables. The sauna was conveniently situated because when it gets too hot, they can quickly jump in the lake.
The limitless forest provides material for wooden houses and structures which carpenter transform into landscapes of beauty. This windmill is beautiful and useful. It can be turned on its axis to catch the wind and grind flour. Tonight, to the music of Tchaikovsky's Sleeping Beauty, We get our beauty sleep as we sail into the sunset of a white night.
Without letting in the dark of night to golden skies, one dawn hastens to relieve another, granting a mere half hour to night. The Bronze Horseman by Pushkin. This is our day on the water. What to do? Well, there's singing and dancing to the music of this band called White Knights. And what's for dinner on this Russian night? The menu starts with borscht. The entree is znamenite boyarsky kotleti, cutlets. We finish it off with blinis or buckwheat pancake with ice cream. This is the Red Church of the Epiphany. It's festive with glazed-colored tiles, and every tile was handmade, a tradition of Yaroslav architecture. Bells of the Cathedral of Transfiguration of our Savior that had been silenced came back, thanks to Gorbachev's reforms. The Festival of Tympanum started in August '88. This town is famous for its library, apples, and honey. These are exact replicas of beehives, copied by craftsmen at the Bee Garden before the October Revolution.
To create masterpieces like these, the bees must be well beehived.
Every square inch of the interior from floor to ceiling is covered with frescoes. I don't know what to photograph. Murals, mostly done in red to show the Holy Spirit's flame, are being restored and protected by UNESCO. After 70 years of being wasted, this church gave a very impressive first service that moved people to tears. For indeed, the blended voices of the choir is heavenly. We go to a folk show of song and dance by a group called Skamaruzina. They were the first prize winner at a festival in Germany. The audience is delightfully entertained.
Gliding along the waterways of the Tsars, we see landscapes that are typically Russian, like this onion-domed church towering over the small town. A small red town with the ever-present Russian Orthodox Church. This boy fishing is a reminder that this was once the fishing grounds of the Tsars. During our midday meal, guess who's coming to lunch? A friendly horse, a regular at this very time and place who comes to claim his share of apples and pears.
In Kostroma, this is the 16th century Trinity Church with its golden domes. And here's the builder, Boris Godunov himself.
And do the architects think he's good enough? Here's a testament to the Russians' reverence for their god through the beauty of their icons. I am awestruck by the whole wall of vibrant colors with bright red predominating and of the gilded frames with intricate carvings. Kostroma has the largest flax industry in Russia. It supplies the finest sailcloth to Europe and Russia.
Tonight is Captain's Farewell. Na zdarovya to our captain. Na zdarovya to our tour guides, Valera, Gennady, and Misha. Gennady stayed in our bus throughout the tour. Cutting and eating cake Peterhof was symbolic of the end of our water journey. This is not farewell, but welcome to Moscow and to the surprises that it holds for us.
We arrive in Moscow, a bustling city of 10 million people. It is once again the capital of Russia. This is Krasny Platz, the famous Red Square. On the left side of the square is the gigantic black mausoleum of Lenin. It is open for viewing every other day and the line is very long. Behind it, lining the left side of the square, is the very heart of Moscow, the Kremlin with its star.
In front of the square is the most beautiful church in Russia, St. Basil Cathedral. At this site, there was a mass prayer before the Tsar Ivan left to fight the Tartars at Kazan, and he won. The colorful onion-shaped domes in various patterns of diagonal stripes or horizontal zigzags is a feast for the eyes. This dome copied my hat, as you can see. And this dome copied Eric's hat. Wouldn't this make a good family Christmas card?
The massive Kremlin wall where young Peter once stood with his older half-brother looking down at the people, who unanimously shouted, "We want Peter!" Within the walls is the Armory, a museum of royal paraphernalia. It is a must-to-see. The 16th century opulence is clearly expressed in this gospel cover studded with gems. Not only is the Russian warrior garbed extravagantly for battle, but his horses as well. This crown was given to Alexander Pushkin on his wedding. He was the Shakespeare of Russia.
This Fabergé egg, only 4 inches high, contains diminutive portraits of the last Tsar's daughter inside. Peter's drastic reforms started with himself. He wore not only the Russian attire, but also the European one on the left. This is what Catherine wore on her coronation. And to further impress her power, she wore a new crown with the pearls and 5,000 diamonds. This is Tsar Boris Godunov's throne, a present from the Shah of Persia. It was made with plates of gold and 2,200 precious stones and pearls.
Boris thinks it's not good enough, so he never used it.
On the other hand, this is a well-used throne by 3 people. There's a window where the hidden Sophia would whisper to the 2 young Tsars, Peter and Ivan. Let's be a Muscovite today and ride the efficient metro. The Mayakovskaya station is beautifully decorated with rhodonite. The Beloruskaya station is decorated with stained glass as a monument to victory, and it says, "Peace in the whole world." This beautiful red and white building is the Pushkin Theater. Pushkin was born in Moscow in 1799. The famous Bolshoi was the first public theater established by Catherine. Tonight, we're going to see a ballet, a Tschaikovsky masterpiece, Swan Lake.
Soon they came to a lake as smooth as silver in the moonlight. There was a flock of wild swans. Their wings pulsed gently, and the moonlight seemed to sleep upon their feathers. Prince Siegfried stared at the mysterious birds.
Suddenly, a girl appeared before him. "I am Odette, queen of the swans. I live my days as a swan and my nights as human. I will always be a swan unless a man pledges to marry me and never love another." Our next homestay is in downtown Moscow, where flats are very expensive. Our room is large and has 2 beds. The living room gleams with varnished cabinets and china. Marina, who also does not speak English, graciously serves us tea in a nice teapot. We visit Pishchi Rynok, or bird market, though it sells more than birds. What do they sell? Various kinds and colors of kittens, no cats.
At noon, we give one last desperate try to go to Tolstoy's estate called Yasnaya Polyanna in Tula, 4 hours drive south. We ask a taxi how much it would cost, and he says $100, or $100. We are lucky. The entrance to his estate is lined with birch trees. Leo inherited this estate from his grandfather, who worked under Catherine the Great. In this house, Sonia bore him 13 children. Here's the large dining room to serve 15. After dinner, Leo would play the piano or read to the family. He has 22,000 books in his library. On this writing desk, or pismeny stol, he wrote War and Peace, or Vaina и Mir. When he went to sleep in the bed at his study, his wife would rewrite his draft. During the 7 years of writing the colossal War and Peace, Sonia had copied it 7 times.
Leo later worked in the field, became a vegetarian, and wore the white tunic of a peasant.
Through 2,000 acres of woodland and ponds, there is a clearing by the stream. It is Tolstoy's grave, or Mogila Tolstova. Here, Leo Tolstoy lies silent now as his words are read the world over. We walked the land and sailed the rivers from St. Petersburg, the city of Peter's creation, to Moscow, the heart of Russia. We have seen the gigantic ambitions of Peter the Great to modernize Russia, exalted in the dreams of Catherine the Great to be world-renowned, and felt the anguish and tragedy that befell Nicolas II, the last Tsar of Russia.
We have been warmed and charmed by the effervescent lines of Pushkin, the complex psychological plots of Dostoevsky, and the poetic images of Tolstoy as we journey along
the waterways of the Tsars.
Если б знали вы, как мне дороги подмосковные вечера, если б знали вы, как мне дороги подмосковные вечера. Речка движется и не движется, вся из лунного серебра. Песня слышится и не слышится в эти тихие вечера. Песня слышится и не слышится в эти тихие вечера. Что ж ты, милая, смотришь искоса, низко голову наклоня? Трудно высказать и не высказать все, что на сердце у